You're teed up for Golf News RI TV on CW Providence with your host Joe Calabro and his guests. We're talking everything golf around the region and on the tours. Now, here's your host, Joe Calabro.
Hey everybody, welcome to GolfNewsRI TV. I'm Joe Calabro, co-founder and CEO of GolfNewsRI. As you can see, we are not on a golf course today. We are actually at Fort Adams, right down the road from the U.S. Senior Open over at Newport Country Club. Cool to be here at Fort Adams. Lots of rugby games going on over there. Boats are in the water. Pretty cool. The wind is blowing, which is typical Newport. A lot to get to. It's just me today, but we have a slew of highlights and packages that we want to show off to recap kind of what's been going on in Rhode Island golf world over the last 2 weeks or so. First, let's take it back to the Northeast Amateur at Wannamoisa. It was epic. It was one of the great Northeast Amateurs that I've seen for sure. It went into a 5-hole playoff with a rain delay. We didn't get out of there until almost 8 o'clock at night. We have highlights from that. Anthony Del Santi with the win. And let's get to the highlights of the playoff and a little bit extra. So here's highlights from the Northeast Amateur at Wannamoisa.
Final round of the Northeast Amateur at Wannamoisa Country Club. Hunter Thompson from Canada started the final round with a one-shot lead, but a double bogey on 12 and another bogey on 14 would see his tournament hopes slashed. The story of the final round was Anthony Del Santi out well ahead of the leaders. This putt on 18 is for a final round 61 entire course record. He just misses it. He thought he had it. Either way, he's in the clubhouse at 11 on the par after he taps in. Right there, he has the solo lead. Enter Brian Lee. He came to 18. He just missed the birdie putt. He knocks this one in to tie the lead at 11 under par. And so we have a playoff. The first Northeast Amateur playoff since 2012. They play aggregate scoring on holes 1, 2, and 3. So, first playoff hole, hole 1. Lee is in for a bogey. Del Santi knocks this one, and so he takes a one-shot lead. Now, playoff hole 2. Here's Lee's putt for a par. He makes it. So now Del Santi has this putt to maintain a one-shot lead heading into the final hole. And he would just miss it. So we are all tied up. Now at this point, the rains are coming. The diehards are out with their umbrellas. It's really starting to come down. Some thunder. It's coming. So, hole 3. Del Santi drains this putt for par to tie the hole. And now they're on a chat with Riga officials. This is really coming down. So there's their conversation. And the kids decide that they want to play. Let's keep going, they said. What rain? So, here we are back at hole 3 again. Lee makes this putt to save par. Meaning the pressure is on Del Santi to also try to save par here. And he does. We're still tied. Now there's a play suspended. There was lightning in the area. So after about an hour or so, the players come back out to 3. Again, we keep playing 3 until we have a winner. Both players hit tee shots onto the green. Both have some decent looks at it. So, anyway, onto the green. Lee is first. He has this long birdie putt from below the hole. And he's just going to leave it short. He would tap in for par, leaving the door open for Anthony Del Santi, who has this putt. It's hard to tell, but it's about 5 or 6 feet maybe. And Del Santi drains it for birdie, pumps his fist in the air as he is the 2024 Northeast Amateur champion in an epic 5-hole playoff. What a performance, what a show, and what a week at the Northeast Amateur. And Del Santi joins a list of Northeast Amateur winners that includes Colin Morikawa, Peter Uihlein, Dustin Johnson, and of course, most recently, Nick Dunlap.
There you go, highlights. Anthony Del Santi wins a 5-hole playoff, and we'll hear from him in just a second, but it was really exciting stuff. I've gone to the Northeast Amateur for however many years as a fan, and now obviously as media, and it was quite something. And I thought last year's Northeast Amateur was great with Nick Dunlap walking off with a win on 18, but this year was epic. It was a little nerve-wracking because the rain was really coming down. I don't know if the video did it justice, but it was thundering and there was lightning in the area. And it was quite something, but the kids wanted to keep playing. We ended up having play suspended after the 4th playoff hole. Then they came back out, like I said in the video, about an hour later for the 5th playoff hole. So it was really an epic finish. A big crowd there all week. The rain kind of dampened some people near the end, but it was really awesome, and another awesome week at Wannamoisett. After the round and after the trophy ceremony, Anthony Del Santi met with us in the media room and gave us his thoughts on what he called the biggest win of his young career.
That feels great. That's a big sigh of relief, definitely, to see the last one go in for sure. But it's pretty crazy. It feels like deja vu. Last year at Monroe, it was like the exact same scenario. It was a 6-hole playoff there, just in pouring rain. So I kind of was perfectly prepared for it. So yeah, but Brian played great. I mean, put a lot of pressure on me. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Definitely, this is 100% biggest win on my resume for sure. So yeah, definitely excited about it. So yeah, I mean, you know, after you get a win, you got to get back to work. So it's got to get over it quick, and yeah, should be fun to see how things play out in the next couple of weeks. Yeah, it's interesting. I shot 29 in the final round of our conference championship this year, and I kind of just got into the moment, like didn't really know where I was at, and that was kind of the same today. Just trying to make every birdie possible, and even today I kind of forgot where I was at. Like I said, didn't look at the board until kind of later in the day. So yeah, I mean, say you can kind of treat 7 under as the same as 1 under, and you just got to focus on the next shot. That's kind of what I was doing. So yeah, today was just go as low as you can, make as many birdies as you can, and see what happens. So it's kind of what we did, and yeah, got it done.
And that was Anthony Del Santi meeting with the media after his big win at the Northeast Amateur. Like he called it, the biggest win of his Northeast Amateur career. A couple of notes from that. That was the first time the Northeast Amateur went to a playoff since 2012. And for Del Santi, he joins a list of winners that include Colin Morikawa, Dustin Johnson, Peter Uihlein, obviously most recently Nick Dunlap, and among other golf greats, some of whom you might even see at the U.S. Senior Open this week here in Newport. Congrats to Anthony Del Santi, and good luck to him the rest of his career. Certainly will be a name to watch as he continues to play on at the various amateur events. The other cool thing we got from the Northeast Amateur was opportunities to interview other players, and we'll have that coming up for you in the second segment of the show. We'll have Gordon Sargent. He's the #1 ranked amateur in the world. He was at Wannamoisett this week. We have Todd White, who came back. He won the 1990 Northeast Amateur. He played in this year's tournament. He also played in the Senior Open this week at Newport. So quite a 2-week stretch for him. So really interesting stuff, and we'll play that for you on GolfNewsRI TV right after this commercial break.
Now back to GolfNewsRI TV with your host, Joe Calabro, and today's guest. Special thanks to our sponsors, Providence Performing Arts Center and 4 Evergreen Turf Management.
And welcome back to GolfNewsRI TV. I'm Joe Calabro. Thanks to everybody for tuning in, and thanks to all of our sponsors for the continued support. We are here at Fort Adams. It's a busy place. There's a rugby games going on over there. There's some cool boats on the water. The fog hasn't lifted quite yet, but we are here at Fort Adams for the Senior Open, right down the road from Newport Country Club. There's a official U.S. Senior Open vehicle driving by. Pretty cool. So the parking lots are set. Everything's good. This is where my media parking is, so that's the other reason why we're here. So anyway, last segment we talked about the Northeast Amateur, showed highlights of the great win and some cool other content that came out of the Northeast Amateur. You got these kids from all over. They are all ranked nationally, or ranked in the world, I guess. Not nationally. They're ranked in the world, and they have all different, colleges, and some of them are going to turn pro. Most of them will turn pro. Some of them, like Gordon Sargent, already has their tour card. So I talked to Gordon Sargent earlier in the week. He ended up finishing 9th at the Northeast Amateur. But what was cool about him is he is the #1 ranked amateur in the world. In the world. It's not very often you get to talk to world #1. And so I talked to him earlier in the week at the Northeast Amateur. I asked him about turning pro, why he hasn't turned pro yet, why he's continued his amateur career when he literally has a tour card in his back pocket. And he talked about Wannamoisett and the Northeast Amateur as well. So let's go to that right now. This is GolfNewsRI's conversation with world number one, the number one amateur in the world, Gordon Sargent.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those events you circle on your calendar. The golf course is fantastic. Obviously, it's super well run, and we all just have a good time, which I think is one of those things that all the players really are thankful for. We all eat dinner, hang out together and stuff. So it's one of those events feels kind of like home when you're here. Stay with host families and all that stuff. So yeah, we all have a good time, and it's super cool to be back here. I still feel like I can get a lot better as an amateur, and just playing pro events even as an AM, you kind of see what you need to do to get better, and I kind of enjoy the process. Coming to events like this is always fun, but you still got a lot to work on too. So yeah, it's just one of those things that I felt like another year of college, another year of amateur golf would help me mature as a person, player, kind of all the above.
Is it hard not to look ahead?
Sometimes it's always going to be there, so I don't know, weeks like this, you kind of glad you're an amateur. You kind of wish you could play this event every single year. So, just the game's getting a lot better, a lot more depth. You see it in college golf this past year, especially those COVID years. Playing against older guys, getting opportunities to play in pro events as an amateur is really important. I think we all enjoy it, and it's eye-opening at the same time. Pro golf's a different animal. We both played the US Open last week, and you can kind of tell what happens in pro golf when you don't have your best stuff. So the game's really evolved. I feel like the classes coming out are better and better. So taking every opportunity you can to get better while you're in college and be ready to go when you're a pro.
All right, that was our conversation with Gordon Sargent, the number one amateur in the world. It was really interesting, and I was really interested to ask him about, turning pro, because he has a tour card in his back pocket, almost literally. He can turn pro tomorrow if he wanted to. But he's still playing amateur golf. He's still going to college at Vanderbilt. And that's why I asked him, and I was really interested in his answer about, do you ever catch yourself looking ahead where, you don't really need to play this? He just wants to play. He feels like he needs to get better, which is what he said in the clip. But I thought it was really interesting. It was a really interesting situation. It's not like in other sports where, you go to the draft, then you're a pro. In golf, you literally can turn pro whenever you want. And then you wake up the next morning and you're a pro. Literally, that's almost literally what happens. That's how it works. And for him, he has a tour card for the PGA Tour in his pocket. And yeah, he's still continuing to play amateur golf. He's still continuing to go to college. I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was a really interesting conversation. He has some interesting comments, so it really cool to talk to him. Again, how many times you get to talk to world number one in anything, much less in golf. So good luck to Gordon for the rest of his career. I'm imagining that will be his last Northeast Amateur. I'm assuming he's going to turn pro at some point soon, although he's delaying a little bit. But for now, I would like to think that's probably his last Northeast Amateur. So good luck to him and the rest of his career. It was cool to cover him a little bit at Wannamoisett this month. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, Todd White came back to the Northeast Amateur this year. He won the tournament in 1990, but he's coming back because he was playing in the Northeast Amateur as a past champion, and then he was playing in the Senior Open at Newport. So quite a week for him. So he went from Wannamoisett to Newport. Not bad. And we caught up with him a little bit, and here's what he had to say, reflecting on his time in the Northeast Amateur and his golf career in general.
Well, I can tell you in 30 years, I just remember back to 1989, 90, the first 2 years I was here. As I've told people before, when you stood on the first tee, you could not see 2 fairway or 9 fairway because everything was tree lined. So obviously there have been a number of trees that have been removed. There have been some greens that have been, I guess, recovered. In other words, expanded in size, given them more hole locations. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful golf course. And again, when I signed up to play, a lot of great memories came flooding back. Not so much of winning here, but more of the people I would be able to see and interact with again.
1990 till now.
Yeah, in terms of where it's standing in the amateur game, it was ranked in that realm back in 1989-90. You just didn't have as many tournaments that were falling into that category. Now with this Elite Amateur Series, with players earning points toward exemptions, it just adds more weight, if you want to call it that, to what these college kids are playing for. And as I said last night at the dinner, what the Northeast Amateur Committee, what the Rhode Island Golf Association, the membership and the staff, what they do here, it's all of their efforts that make this the top-ranked amateur invitational tournament in the country, in my opinion.
All right, that was 1990 Northeast Amateur Champion Todd White talking about his return to the tournament this season, and of course how the game of golf has evolved over his career. Really cool to catch up with him. He didn't play as well as he wanted in the Northeast, but I know he's looking forward to the Senior Open at Newport. Speaking of which, coming up next after this commercial break, we'll take you inside the ropes of the U.S. Senior Open, at least early in the week at the Senior Open. And so you want to stay tuned for that. Some cool scenes and sounds from the tournament. Check out GolfNewsRI.com on all of our social media platforms. Make sure you're following everyone and sign up for our morning e-blast that goes out just about every day. This is GolfNewsRI TV. I'm Joe Calabro. We'll be right back.
Now back to Golf News RI TV with your host, Joe Calabro, and today's guest. Special thanks to our sponsors, Imagine Gift Store and Schoolhouse Apartments.
And welcome back to Golf News RI TV. I'm Joe Calabro, co-founder and CEO of Golf News RI. As you can see, and you probably noticed by now, we are not at a golf course. We are actually at Fort Adams, right down the road from the U.S. Senior Open at Newport Country Club. Again, we are here because, one, it looks cool, with the cool water and the rugby stuff going on over there, and Lord knows what else. But also, this is where media parking is, my media parking is, for the Senior Open. So, as they say, killing two birds with one stone. We want to get to the Senior Open, a little bit behind the scenes of how this kind of works. So we tape Golf News RI TV early in the week, and obviously it airs over the weekend. We've been fortunate to have it air on the CW network and air before the Live Golf events that happen over the weekend. So that's been really cool. People have been watching it as a lead into Live. It's been on it on my golf course, which is always cool and kind of weird too, to see yourself on TV. With your friends sitting around. But anyway, so obviously, if you want full coverage of the U.S. Senior Open, hopefully you're following Golf News RI on all of our platforms. We have social media coverage, we have videos, highlights, press conference coverage, and everything else. So that's on GolfNewsRI.com. We'll probably have a little bit of a recap of the Senior Open on next week's show when we're able to put all this stuff together and put some cool clips together for you. But I do want to take an opportunity to take you inside the U.S. Senior Open, at least early in the week at the Senior Open. Obviously, the tournament hadn't started yet. It was tournament week, but the tournament hadn't officially started yet. So I wanted to give you some early sights and sounds from the U.S. Senior Open at Newport. It's pretty cool stuff. There's guys playing early practice rounds. This grandstand is set up, the merch tent. I'm not going to tell you how much I spent in said merch tent, but you can take a guess. Maybe I'll give you a hat if you get closest to the prize, closest to the number. But let me take you inside the U.S. Senior Open at Newport Country Club, at least early in the week, show you what it looks like. It's pretty cool stuff. there was an early look at the U.S. Senior Open at Newport Country Club. Again, pretty cool stuff. Who knows when something like this is going to come back. The last time the USGA took an event here, whether it's Newport or elsewhere, was 2006. So 2006 to 2024, although technically it was supposed to be 2020, but COVID got in the way. So to be fair, so you never know when these days are going to come back. So hopefully you're following our coverage all week long on GolfNewsRI.com. We'll have further coverage continued into the early this week with kind of emptying the clip, as they say, because it's just so cool to have an event like this here. So anyway, that's the U.S. Senior Open. Follow all our coverage on GolfNewsRI.com. Now, on to next week's show. We reached the third leg of this crazy 4-week stretch with the Rhode Island Amateur. So next week, we will preview the Rhode Island Amateur, certainly a U.S. tournament with the winner going to the U.S. Amateur for the first time ever. So we'll have a preview of that and much more on GolfNewsRI TV. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks to everybody for following, and happy July 4th.
You've been watching GolfRI TV on CW Providence.